Usato realized that the fall might actually be enough to kill him, so he started using his healing magic right away to make sure he could survive. After healing his minor scratches, he thought he really couldn't go back without defeating a grand grizzly. Despite the monster's terrifying characteristics, Usato told himself that it would be a piece of cake to take it down. However, he immediately ran away in fear when one appeared behind him. He realized it was actually more terrifying in person. He failed to outrun the monster, but he thought it was nothing compared to Rose and his hellish training, so he decided to fight. However, 2 blue grizzlies appeared behind the grand grizzly, so he had no choice but to run for his life again, and he managed to shake them off after jumping into the waterfall. Usato found a safe place after climbing up one of the huge trees. He hung up his clothes and immediately checked his supplies, but he started calling Rose a demon and an ogre when he noticed that she didn't even give him anything to start a fire. He ate some hard bread while thinking about how he would take down the grand grizzly, but he decided to worry about it the next day as he hid himself to rest and recover. Usato woke up early the next day. He looked for clues that would help him find the grand grizzly, and after a while, he found the bear's scratch marks on a tree. At the same time, he heard some rustling from the bushes, so he put his guard up, but luckily it was just an injured black rabbit. After healing the rabbit, Usato continued looking for the grand grizzly. However, the rabbit kept on following him. The rabbit seemed to know the bear's location, and Usato thought it wanted to guide him there. After following the rabbit for a while, Usato found the bears sleeping peacefully outside their cave. He decided to observe the bears first, so he realized that they were a family. Afterwards, Usato took some water from the river. He was worried about drinking it, but he didn't have a choice. He was surprised to see the black rabbit back, but he brought it with him to observe the bears. He also started thinking that the blue grizzlies were really adorable. Usato was starting to like how he was living. However, the next day, he experienced severe stomach pain because of the water he was drinking. Usato tried his best to deal with the pain with his healing magic, and he was glad to see the black rabbit coming back. After he recovered, the black rabbit guided him to where he could get some drinking water. However, while he was thanking the rabbit, he noticed it seemed to be afraid of something. Usato was surprised, as he wasn't even scared of the bears, but he understood when he saw the gigantic snake slither between the trees. Usato hadn't read about the monster, but he could tell how dangerous it was at first glance, so he wanted to avoid it at all costs. 4 days had passed since Usato saw the gigantic snake, and he continued to watch the bears. His heart warmed seeing their interactions, but he still had to defeat the grand grizzly before he could return home, so he decided to finally make his move the next day. It was raining the next day, and the rabbit was trying to stop Usato from going, so he decided to at least wait for the rain to stop. Usato advanced towards the bear's cave, determined to defeat the grand grizzly and finally go home. However, what welcomed him was the corpse of the grand grizzly and its blue grizzly partner. He thought he would be in trouble if Rose found out his prey was stolen. He was certain that the gigantic snake was responsible for the bear's death, and they were even killed for fun. The blue grizzly cub appeared from underneath the rubbles. He was in tears seeing his dead parents, and his roar of sorrow echoed throughout the forest. Usato hated what he was seeing. He was annoyed that his prey was stolen, but he also vowed to seek revenge for the blue grizzly cub. Usato told the blue grizzly to wait, but it also looked for the snake using its scent. Ryusen and Inukami found out that it had been 10 days since Usato started training in the forest. Ryusen thought 10 days was too long, but Tong replied that Rose decides everything, and since she wasn't around as well, they didn't know what was going on. Inukami noticed that Ryusen gets awfully worked up when it comes to Usato. He asked if she was not worried, so she explained that it should be fine since it was planned by Rose, and she believed in Usato, making her less worried. Ryusen declared that he also believed in Usato, but based on his expression, he was still worrying a lot. At the same time, Usato made a wooden sphere and conditioned himself in preparation for the battle against the snake. Afterwards, he asked the rabbit to help him find the snake. It was hesitant at first, but it seemed to understand that Usato was determined to fight it, so it helped him look for the snake throughout the forest using his sharp sense of smell. It took them some time to find the snake, and Usato was surprised to see the injured blue grizzly cub fighting the snake on its own. Usato was terrified, as he could tell how dangerous the snake was, but he thought nothing was more frightening than Rose, so he didn't back down. Both the cub and the snake were confused when Usato suddenly came charging, so he managed to get close to the snake's head. He barely dodged the snake's bite, but he used this chance to pierce its eye, and although he was thrown away after getting hit by its tail, he got back up in an instant after healing himself. Usato focused on attacking the right side of the monster where it was blinded, but the monster was actually prepared for it, so Usato couldn't dodge its bite. However, he refused to give up. He didn't let go of his knife, and he used it to stab the snake while his hand was stuck in its mouth. The snake was forced to let him go because of this, but its venom started to take effect, so Usato was still at a disadvantage. Luckily, Usato knew how to deal with it, as he learned how to heal himself from the inside out after suffering stomach pain from the dirty water. After recovering, Usato charges towards the snake, which was prepared to attack Usato with its tail. But the blue grizzly cub blocked it, and he also held the tail down to give Usato an opening. Usato managed to climb the snake's head, and his punch was strong enough to crack its skull and knock the monster down. While the blue grizzly cub was holding the snake down, Usato continued stabbing the snake's eye until it stopped struggling. The duo celebrated their victory, but the snake actually got up again, and Usato was completely helpless as the mana he had left was being used to neutralize the snake's venom in his body. Usato asked the cub to escape, but it tried dragging him, refusing to leave him to die. Usato thought it was the end for him. He remembered Ryusen and Inukami. He also started blaming Rose, and while the snake was about to bite him to death, he cursed at Rose, calling her a brute and violent woman. However, Rose suddenly came out of nowhere, and she stomped the snake to death. Usato immediately bowed down to pay his respect, but he was confused as to why she was present, so Rose called out the black rabbit. She introduced him as Kyukuru. He was actually her pet, and she tasked him with watching over Usato, and the part where it showed up injured was just an act to gain Usato's trust. Rose explained that she was just nearby, ready to step in if anything happened. However, she was unaware that the snake, which was created by the Demon Lord's army, would hide in the forest after barely escaping against Signes. She was also surprised that it managed to kill the Grand Grizzly, as a full unit of elite troops wasn't even enough to take them down. Hearing this, Usato thought that Rose was a monster or a witch for asking him to take down the monster on his own. Rose admitted that she didn't really expect him to win, and the goal was for him to gain some battle experience. But the situation became interesting, so she decided to wait and see what would happen. Usato complained as he almost died, and the cub also became hostile towards Rose because of Usato's anger. Rose realized that it had taken a liking to Usato, and it immediately calmed down when Usato started patting it. Rose thought Usato was really similar to her. Then she told the cub that he would be going back with them, and she asked him to carry Usato. The cub immediately put Usato on his back. Usato wondered if it was fine, and the cub seemed to want to stay with him. Rose thought it was time to return home. She carried both of them on her shoulder, but she suddenly remembered how Usato was calling her a brute, a violent woman, and an ogre. She planned to punish Usato, but she was satisfied with how he passed her test with flying colors. He declared that he was now qualified to stand beside her on the battlefield and that he even had the ability to stand pain, physical aptitude, and a strong mental state, which the other two healers didn't have, so he should be proud. And she also thought they might finally have some hope to survive the demon army's coming attack. At the same time, Amila Vergret, the demon army's third commander, reported that the preparations to invade the Linger Kingdom were proceeding smoothly. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to drop a like if you enjoy this video, and please subscribe so you won't miss the next part. And just comment down any anime you want to see in this channel.